One of the best things about the Melbourne International Flower and Garden Show is getting to check out the latest and greatest gardening products. And this one's a ripper. So I'm joined by Ronan from Maize. Now Ronan, tell me, as far as compost tumblers go, what makes this one stand out from the crowd?
Well, probably the biggest difference is really the two compartments. Having one side that you can actually fill and the other side that's maturing, that's probably one of the big differences that does stand out between all the other compost bins. Here you can see one side is fresh waste and the other side is already ready compost.
So that's amazing. All right, so how long does it take to turn this into compost?
Usually, like in all the perfect conditions, it could happen within 6 weeks. At most, it will take 8 to 9 weeks sort of thing. It just depends on really if you're doing everything right in terms of the mixture and everything like that.
All right, so what makes this special in terms of tumbling? Is it hard to move around?
Well, no, look, because you have this handle here, it does make it a lot easier. So you can simply just turn the handle and all the waste inside turns around.
So why is it important to, mix the compost around?
Well, in composting, aeration is one of the key features. Like having all the waste in there being constantly mixed is really what helps the microbes break down all that food. When you have a static bin that just sits on its own, you really need to try and get in there and mix it all around with a pitchfork or an aerator of some sort, and it can be very difficult to get all that waste to actually turn. Whereas here, obviously, just with a simple turn, both sides are being turned, all that waste is moving around, and that's what speeds up that whole process.
So what is the key to getting good compost? Do you have to think about that balance of ingredients?
That's definitely one of the key aspects. It's not enough just to put all your kitchen scraps in there, or even your garden scraps. You've got to make sure you're putting enough dry material to balance any of the wet material that's coming from your kitchen. So any vegetable scraps, things like that, are quite wet, full of water. So you've got to add anything that's dry. So obviously, autumn leaves are ideal if you can get them. Otherwise, you can use straw or hay, grains of any sort, or even paper and cardboard just to balance out that wetness from the wet material in the kitchen.
So I know from personal experience that getting compost out of a bin can be, a bit of a painful process. Is there anything about this that makes it easier?
That's probably the second key feature of this one. I think one of the things that you can sort of prevent yourself getting too dirty and too messy is having the ability to simply let gravity do all the work. So you just position the composter so the actual door is underneath the compost bin. Because of the open frame, you can simply wheel in a cart, or if you don't have this composting cart, you can use a flexi tub or a bucket of any sort. Align it underneath the door that you're opening. So in this case, the maturing door is on this side, and you simply open the door and let the compost fall out.
Fantastic. And then wheel it out to whatever part of the garden you're dumping it on.
That's right. So it is a lot easier. You can see all those worms and everything in there. It is a lot easier than obviously wheeling the whole compost bin. This way, you just take the cart wherever you need it to go.
Now, the other thing that bothers me is that when you get your kitchen waste and you're putting it in a little bin, you often get really mucky, juicy compost waste bin. What have you got here that makes it a bit easier?
So with this kitchen caddy, we basically have a liner which is made out of the same thing that's inside. So it's made out of vegetables. So this compostable bag basically sits inside with all your scraps in there. And when you're ready to empty the actual caddy into the bin, you just release the bag and just tip everything out. Everything goes in there, the caddy is clean.
Bag and all, so it turns into compost?
Exactly, it will turn into compost the same as everything else in there.
Oh, brilliant. All right, so how can people get their hands on one of these?
So these, both the caddy and the bag and the composting cart, you can get from any Bunnings warehouse.
Now, apart from the compost tumbler, what other innovative products have you got?
Well, we've got our backyard greenhouses. So these are backyard greenhouses made out of polycarbonate and aluminium. They're transparent, so it looks like a glass house, so it has all the classic look of a glass house, but polycarbonate is much, much stronger than glass. This material, this resin, is basically something that you can throw a golf ball, a cricket ball, anything you want, and it won't break. Even in the UV, like obviously one of the concerns that a lot of Australians have is about how the UV will deteriorate over time, and basically these are fully protected. We've never had one panel go yellow, crack, anything like that in the 10 years we've been selling them.
And I love that when you have a greenhouse at home, you really can garden year round.
Yeah, for sure. So the idea is that even like in Melbourne, where you've got, in the driest months, 10 days of rain or whatnot, in the greenhouse, you can always do your gardening. So you're protected, the plants are protected, and none of the UV actually goes inside the greenhouse, so you don't have to worry about getting sunburn.
And you've got different styles for different types of gardens?
Yeah, we do. We've got like small ones that can be 1 metre long or so, and we've got much larger ones that can go up to 5 or 6 metres. The idea is that you can tailor a solution to your garden. You can get simply the biggest one you can fit. You can get a round one, you can get sort of more of a triangular one. There's ones that leans up against the wall, all sorts of different solutions to suit any garden.
Brilliant. Well, make sure while you're at the show you get down to the Maze stand and you check out the new compost tumbler and their beautiful variety of greenhouses. So thank you so much, Ronan. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Thanks.